Hello and welcome to Air-Deraan. I'm Freddie.
What's up, dudes? I'm Vojta.
And we're here to talk about Chapter 15 of The Mandalorian.
In other words, Season 2, Episode 7.
Yes.
We're getting into the finale, even though it didn't really feel like it.
Oh, we'll discuss.
That's what we're going to discuss. Before then, there is a little thing that you may have already figured out, that this sounds a lot different than our other episodes.
And that's because we are not in the same place at the same time. Instead, we're recording online using Audacity as our friend and Zoom. So it is going to be a bit different, and I feel so bad for you, Vojta, for having to figure it all out, but it should work.
Well, technically, you figured out how to do it. I'm just gonna have to do it, but that's fine.
Yeah, I'll crack the whip soon.
But yeah. It's all consensual though. It's fine.
Oh God! Oh.
Not like that. It's never mind.
Never mind. Well,
no Nigerians involved.
No Nigerians, unlike the Bad Batch. But in this episode, we are going to be going over our general thoughts, and then we are going to go into I almost said crochet granite, the spoiler summary of the episode. And then
you didn't almost say it, you did say it.
Look, I said it when I said I almost said it, so it doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
And then afterwards we are going to be going into the little details we think found and stuff we want to talk about. And then
I almost said the nitty gritty.
Yeah, the nitty gritty indeed. And then I guess we'll go over the good, the bad, and the one in the middle. The Bendu. So, yes. But
and we will try to not to stretch it out as long as we stretched out the bonus episode about the news. Which ended up being literally 3 times, or maybe even 4 times as long as planned.
We intended it to be 30 minutes, and it ended up being about an hour and a half.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 hours, actually.
Well, I think half an hour of that was my internet connectivity issues.
That is true. A good chunk of that was just me talking about my spaghetti.
Yeah, and none of it I could hear.
That is not a euphemism, by the way. Actual spaghetti.
I think before we go off too much about the spaghetti, we should talk about the show itself. And I have not spoken to you at all about this episode. I've not seen any reviews on this episode.
Well, I've got us covered then, because I saw at least 2.
Well, I didn't want my opinions skewed.
That's fine. I think my opinion is still very much intact, because it kind of differed from the other ones.
Oh, heck.
In that it was somewhat less positive, I feel.
Were they?
Well, mine was a bit less positive than theirs. How did you feel?
I really liked this episode. I think it was one of my favourite of the season, personally.
In my opinion, it was good in parts, but it also had some bits that I felt were a couple minutes too long and skewed a bit more into filler territory.
Really?
And it also felt like it should have been like somewhere in the middle of the season, as opposed to being the penultimate one. Especially in comparison to the penultimate episode of season 1. It was a pretty stark difference.
I would say that I'm assuming that the next episode is going to be a lot longer than the normal episodes. Possibly like twice the length.
I do hope so, because like the past couple episodes only were just short of 30 minutes or just over 30 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I would much rather they were quite longer, but I guess that's not the case.
It's a little strange, since I did say that there were bits that were a few minutes too long in this episode, but...
Well, I think that this episode used its 39 minutes extremely well, and I will sing Rick Famuyiwa's praises for writing and directing this episode, because I think it was, like, personally, I thought it was excellent. It reminded me of the way chapter I can't remember what number 11 the heiress used its time.
It's a good question. Yeah, 11.
Yeah, 11.
Well, without that much spoilers to do right now. I feel like the first major action sequence was entirely too long in this case, and we could have just eschewed it in favor of more character stuff with characters other than the Mandalorian.
I thought that there was plenty of character stuff in this episode.
Well, from the two people that this episode focused on.
Yeah, but that's because it was about them.
Well, yes, but for example, we've been with Boba Fett for 2 episodes, and in his second outing, he did nothing. This might be getting into spoilers, but he was basically relegated into the mom picking you up from soccer practice role.
I would argue that's fine, because this episode wasn't about him. The last episode was about him. If it became the Boba Fett show, that would be a problem in my eyes.
That is true, but it feels like too soon to put him squarely into the background.
Well, he's part of the team, type thing.
He only joined the team like in the last 5 minutes of the previous episode.
But there's many episodes. There's not that many episodes left. They've got to do the stuff that, some character things with other people. I mean,
in that case, they should have introduced him way earlier, or made this episode either longer, or, as I said, eschewed the first major action scene for more character stuff.
I don't agree, but I guess we should go straight into a plot summary of this episode.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We've already been kind of skirting around it already.
Yeah, so basically this episode starts with Cara Dune letting Mayfeld out of the prison of the Carthon chop fields,
which is basically a labor camp for the New Republic.
Yeah, how nice of them to do that.
Indeed. And those two very quickly meet up with the Mandalorians.
Yeah, and Mayfeld almost didn't recognize where he thought Boba Fett might have been Din. In fact, it was Boba Fett.
Well, he did have a fresh new coat of paint.
Yeah, he wanted to look smart.
And they did indeed pick him up because, as a former Imperial, he knows his way around clearances and protocols. And in order to be able to track down Moff Gideon, he immediately sets the course for a planet called Morak.
Yeah.
Where an Imperial outpost is meant to be that he can slice into a computer at to track him down.
Yeah, and this base was a mining facility, mining Rhydonium.
Which is basically space TNT, space nitroglycerin, rather.
See it a lot in the Clone Wars, from memory.
Yeah, and basically the rest of the major chunk is Mando and Migs infiltrating the facility by stealing one of the Rhydonian transports. They punch a little bit with some pirates that are trying to sabotage the supply runs.
Yeah, well, Mando and Migs are wearing tank trooper armor. They're disguised, and once they beat off all the pirates, they get a little salute and celebration from the Imperial garrison, which is kind of a bit funny.
Yeah, and they very quickly find the terminal that they were looking for
in the officers' mess.
However, in order to access it, they need to show their face to it to prove that they're human and not wanted by the Empire. However, Mix can't do it because in the mess hall is a little familiar face of his, a certain General Vess.
Hess.
Hess.
Valin Hess. He's got the same surname as Rudolf Hess.
Yep, really going over it with the Nazi metaphors here.
It really did in this episode.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say overt, it was already in canon, but it's interesting.
They're not shying away from it.
Yeah.
Which meant that Din had to be the one to take off his helmet and show his face to the terminal. After doing that, they try to leave, but are stopped by the said General Hess, who has a very long and revealing conversation with Migs, and kind of ends up dead very soon. And there is another very, very nice shootout as our heroes are trying to escape.
And they're picked up by Boba Fett on the roof of the Imperial facility.
Yep, from good old soccer mom Boba Fett.
Who then uses...
I'm never letting this go.
He then uses seismic charges to destroy the two TIE fighters the facility has.
And then we were very, very happy with what just happened.
We were. I was always hoping that Boba Fett would just completely destroy. He would easily face a foe that caused like Din trouble previously in the series, and he definitely did with the dispatching the 2 TIE fighters.
Indeed. And at the very end, Mix is prepared to be put back into prison because he went through a little bit of catharsis and a little bit of a bit of a face turn, a bit of a morality shift in the good direction. Did that sentence make sense?
Yeah, it sort of makes sense. Like, he sort of showed that he wasn't terrible. That he
got some light side points in this conversation.
Yeah, he went more towards the light side in his KOTOR character creation.
Yeah, he made a couple Paragon options in this conversation with bloody BioWare jokes. It's all BioWare to me. Yeah. But Cara Dune is going to let him go anyway. Kind of abusing her position and claimed that he died so that potentially he can star in his own spin-off TV series.
There's not going to be a Migs Mayfield spin-off. I wouldn't be opposed. I like
He
Mayfield.
Could be one of the Rangers of the New Republic, though.
That would be interesting. But cool. We've got to say that he blew up. He shot the Rhydonium and blew up the facility as well.
Indeed.
So...
And that's the episode.
That is the episode.
Kind of.
No, because...
at the very end, we get a cutaway to...
Taken.
Moff Gideon's Architans. Yes. Quinlan Voss. No, Qui-Gon Jinn shows up again in Din Djarin's armor. On Moff Gideon's ship as a hologram, demanding to see the baby. In a callback to Moff Gideon's speech from the
Episode
end of season
7.
1. Basically, he just straight up tells him, "We're coming for you."
Yeah.
Just be scared. Be very scared.
Be very, very scared. It's going to be an interesting episode that will follow. But from the your description, I want to go into the nitty-gritty from the Crochet Granite, since we summarised the episode. It seemed that you weren't too fond of the face thing, the face recognition thing.
Well, I didn't have that much of an issue with it, but the face recognition as a whole, what I had more of an issue with it was how deer in the headlights Din was in that whole scene, which makes sense. On one hand, he was very far out of his comfort zone, but he was completely inept when General Hess was talking to him. He couldn't really do anything. His like helmet hair was all messed up. He didn't come across well in this episode at all. Sorry, I may have said no Zygerians, but I have to let one in to the room. Right. Yeah, I don't think it just made him any favors, because he looked like a pushover.
Really? Well, I think it's like completely understandable that he's like deer in headlights in this episode. I mean, as you said, like this goes against like everything that he's used to and that he's comfortable with. I mean, it's not like he was prepared to take off his helmet and show himself to other people, but he did it for Baby Yoda. He did it for Grogu. So that sort of shows that while he's doing something that he's not comfortable with and not prepared for, he's still willing to do whatever he can for basically his son.
Yeah, I mean, thematically, it made all the sense in the world. I just feel like the execution...
Well, agree to disagree, because I really liked it. And it allowed Migs Mayfield to step in and sort of talk his way through, because he was afraid that Valen Hess would recognize him, because he served under him when Mayfeld was an Imperial.
Well, that fear is very quickly proven to be unsubstantiated, because they talk for like 5 minutes and Hess has no idea who he is.
He talked for 5 minutes saying how they served on Burn-In Khan, the same planet, and they're describing the same events, and then Hess had no idea who this guy was. And it's because like he described like what Mayfeld was, his group as Mudscuffers. So I sort of assumed that they're like the same type of Imperial trooper that Han Solo was when he was in the Empire.
Well, maybe, but isn't the problem that those are like lower ranked than stormtroopers?
Yeah, stormtroopers are like in their own corps, in the stormtrooper corps, whereas Imperial Army troopers are just the run of the muck.
Yeah, but Migs took great offense to being like associated with stormtroopers.
I mean, I take it that the stormtroopers are probably like the Waffen SS of the Empire.
Oh, as in that they are like the not religious nuts.
You know, like how like the SS had their own
fanatics.
The SS had their own like tank divisions. They had their own mountain divisions and infantry divisions and all that kind of stuff. The same way like the Stormtrooper Corps does.
Yeah.
Whereas,
like the difference between the SS and the Wehrmacht.
Yeah. Whereas Mayfeld would have just been a Imperial Army trooper in what is the equivalent of the Wehrmacht. Yeah. So
okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's how I took it at least.
Yeah. In case you don't know your World War II history, Wehrmacht was basically the army of the German state, whereas the SS were the actual Nazi troops. Like
there were Nazi Wehrmacht, but the SS were like the worst, like evil.
Basically.
Yeah, I found it interesting how Mayfeld was like he did a toast to Operation Cinder. And I've mentioned on this podcast quite often that I really do not like Operation Cinder, but I think this episode portrayed it like in a way that I thought was really interesting and made a lot more sort of sense to me. That like people like Mayfeld really did not like Operation Cinder, and they saw it rightfully so as genocide, whereas other people, you know, who were like super evil clearly. Were okay with it, you know, like Hess, and like all these stormtroopers in this facility and all these officers in this facility.
When Mick said the words Operation Cinder, I like audibly said like "fuck this." Why? I mean, originally I would have like jumped for joy on every mention of something that's brought in from the comics or the books, but it might be that like your opinion infected my opinion of this.
Yeah. I
just
thought
didn't expect anything from that era to be brought back in
a good way. At least I thought it was done well, as like so this episode it portrayed like the stormtroopers. It sort of humanized them when they were like cheering and celebrating at the tank troopers. You know, as Mayfeld and Din going back to into the facility, having fended off the pirates, and all the stormtroopers and shore troopers, they were cheering, and that really humanizes them. And you're like, oh wow, so, and then you might think these people might not be all bad after all. And then when, after the conversation with Hess, you realise, all these people are okay with genocide. That's not good. So
yeah, this episode really like not played fast and loose. It really recontextualized like the whole Rebels good, New Republic good, Empire bad, because even though we did have Hess, who's like pure evil, and he was in fact played by the same guy who played the Night King in Game of Thrones.
Is he?
Yeah, well, one of them
the people, yeah.
But as you mentioned, like the lower level people, like the technicians and stuff, they were portrayed to have basically the same level of camaraderie as the Rebels used to have.
Yeah.
In the movies, which you don't really get to see in most media. Like even in the recent stuff, like in Squadrons, like the Imperials you see are either like super, like always in ranks, or like super evil, messed up people. With some exceptions, of course.
Yeah.
But in this, like, it really portrays, like, it almost... I don't want to say that they're just following orders, but it kind of makes it seem like they were just born on Imperial planets and they're just living their life as well as they can.
I think...
The normal ones, not the generals. The generals are the fanatics who kill like 5,000 to 10,000 of only their own troops in Operation Cinder, and then are even smug about it, basically.
I sort of disagree, because the way I took it is like Mayfeld was describing his situation as what you just said, yet Mayfeld left, and presumably a lot of other Imperials, like a lot of in Alphabet Squadron, we know that there was a lot of stigma between against Imperial defectors based on when they defect. Did they defect before Air-Deraan? Did they defect after Air-Deraan? Did they defect after the Emperor died? Or did they defect after Operation Cinder? So it's like, what level of fanaticism were you before you defected? before you left, and so or what level of indoctrination were you under? So Mayfeld was he was saying how like pretty much everyone was just like being ruled. He was looking at when they drove through a village. He was saying that I can't remember exactly. It was like the Empire and the New Republic are the same to the people of the village. They're just people being ruled and like don't have a choice in the matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he described the people that were blown up as well on Burning Con. So
yeah, well, I mean, look at Luke Skywalker. Like, until he gets involved into the whole thing, until basically he meets R2-D2, he wants to join the Academy just to be able to leave. Same with his friend Biggs.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Presumably, literally everyone who lives on not even backwater planets, just not somewhere that is like the center of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Even though like they knew about the rebellion and they probably assumed that the Empire isn't great, like it's where they live. It's like the only way for them to get out of a place. They're not going to care that much. Of course, yeah, the Death Star did kind of change things.
Yeah.
But like defecting from the Empire, I assume, is not easy. And like just not. Saying that they are more evil if they like don't manage to defect until after. The Zygerian activity is really strong today. just because they didn't manage to defect until after a certain point in time, even if they were like possibly on the complete opposite side of the galaxy from the Death Star or whatever, Andor, whatever.
Yeah, like they got stigma from it, like from when they defected. But like I meant like how by the point of the Mandalorian, the war has been over for 4 years, yet there's still like a remnant, and this remnant is ran by the ISB as well. Basically, that's what they say.
Yeah, Mix does say that most of the remnants are like at least former ISB, from what I gathered anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if like the Imperial Security Bureau is meant to be like more fanatic than the rest.
They're like the Gestapo of the Empire.
Yeah, the secret police.
Yeah, Wolf Yularen was the head of the ISB until he died.
On the Death Star, I assume?
Yeah, indeed, he blew up. Good. Killed by Anakin's son, so the circle is complete.
Because he killed Anakin?
No, because
that's not really much of a circle.
Anakin served under.
I don't think that's really a circle.
Maybe not circle. I was just trying to quote A New Hope, okay?
It's only natural. You served with a son, and now he wants to kill you.
Whoa.
In any case, I feel like defecting from even the Empire is like harder, like because when you do see the camaraderie, like you don't really want to like escape your friends, even if you do know that you're all doing a bad thing.
Yeah, like there's a lot of questions to be raised.
Yeah, and like it is true that some people really do value order over everything, and then that doesn't necessarily make them evil, I guess, even though like the higher ups seem to be like pretty much even more irredeemable than like most others.
Yeah, but the thing
they might just be indoctrinated as heck, which doesn't like pardon them, but it makes it makes them less evil.
Yeah,
I guess.
Like it's more human, I guess.
Yeah.
Another thing is that this base, the Rhydonium used, is to pretty much cause chaos and destruction on other planets. The same scale as in Operation Cinder. That's what they're trying to do.
Do we know that, though?
Well, that's what he says. That's what Valen Hess says.
Never mind then.
So, yeah.
Okay, I must have missed that. But
yeah, he says like they're gonna make Burning Con look like nothing with what they planning on doing, and I thought it was really pretty amazing. Well, not amazing, but I thought it was really cool how like, Mayfeld looked like he was about to burst into tears after like reliving everything, Operation Cinder and his life in the Imperial Army and all that. And,
Bill Burr did a pretty bang-up job on this episode.
Yeah, I mean...
And the writing team, and obviously, as you mentioned, writer-director.
Yeah, Rick Famuyiwa.
Some people have been comparing this scene to a certain tense shootout in Inglourious Basterds.
Oh, yeah. It
did feel quite Tarantino-esque.
Yeah, especially with the space Nazis.
Oh, yeah. Basically from the very point when they cross the bridge, you, know that something is gonna go down, and you're just waiting for when it's going to happen. I mean, I can't say, even though I did have problems with the action scene that led up to it, I can't say that I wasn't, weirdly enthralled by the strange feeling of TIE fighters coming to the rescue.
Yeah, it was so weird. It was really strange. And notice how all the stormtroopers and shore troopers, really cool seeing shore troopers, by the way. Notice how all of them, with each shot they fired, they hit the pirate. They hit every shot they fired.
It's a bit strange, how accurate people seem to be in The Mandalorian as opposed to most other Star Wars things.
Yeah. Well, E.C. Henry did an analysis and found that stormtroopers, when you look at the statistics in the original trilogy, were actually more accurate than the main characters, I think, in some ways.
Interesting. How so?
With the amount of shots fired. Mm-hmm. The main characters shoot more shots and obviously hit more people. But for the amount of shots that the stormtroopers fire, they do hit. In the Tantive.
Yeah, that
sequence.
Would kind of skew the averages, I feel.
Yeah, in the Tantive scene, that's what they were comparing. So, because on the Death Star, the stormtroopers were trying to let them go. They were meant to let them go.
Very true.
I think he did an analysis of A New Hope rather than of the other films, because they weren't really in any position in the other films to hit anyone who wasn't a main character, I suppose.
The Star Wars New Canon Book Club did talk about this in their most recent episode, which was on The Siege. They're a couple of weeks behind.
Yeah.
But the point was that basically in most of Star Wars, the action scenes usually look the same as they do in the original trilogy, with 4 people go into a big base, shoot a lot of people, and get out unscathed. But since, as you said, in the original trilogy, usually they were meant to be allowed to escape.
Yeah.
It made more sense and didn't make the bad guys look as weak as, for example, in Rebels, when Hera and Sabine would do the same. And they're not Jedi, they're not really destined to do anything, and they're not super trained. And they basically manage to outsmart an entire base that isn't meant to let them go.
Regularly.
Yeah, I just chose those two, by the way, because they were the only two I could think of that are not Jedi.
Yeah.
What's his name? Not Rex. What's his name? Is it Rex?
What do you mean?
W-R-E-X?
W?
You know, the Lasat.
Oh, no, Zeb.
Zeb. Oh, I was thinking of Mass Effect, I guess. Or not Rex.
Yeah. But also, in The Siege and also The Heiress, those episodes show that once stormtroopers are in cover and pin you down, you are kind of stuck. And you can't really do anything about it. Because in both those situations, when the stormtroopers are in the lift shaft, and also in that doorway towards the cockpit, in the Heiress, they pin down the main characters, and they're just stuck, and they can't really do anything. And in the Heiress, they need to have Din be a human shield and throw a load of grenades, and in the Siege, they need to drive a transport off the base in order to escape. So, I mean, they're still kind of formidable in the episodes.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's not universe breaking. It's just something to consider.
Yeah, stormtroopers need cover. If they're in the open, they're not that good.
Yeah, they're third-person shooter types, not
the crouching behind wall simulator.
Yep, chest high wall galaxy.
I want you to go into why you didn't like the action sequence, because like with the pirates, because I thought that was another good instance of showing that Din is outside of his comfort zone, because while wearing the tank trooper armor, you can see that he's not used to his weapon being unreliable. He's not used to not wearing Beskar because he takes a hit in his shoulder and loses his pauldron, and also takes a hit in his wrist. Like he tries to block like a spear with his wrist, and his gauntlet shatters. So I thought it was another good way of showing like how he is having to face things that make him uncomfortable and take him out of what he's used to.
Yeah, I will give that to you, but basically that was basically the same thing that I thought of the entire episode. It had good character stuff, but it felt like it had maybe like 5 minutes of story. Like that whole action scene did show how he's reliant on the armor and has to step up his game, but the pirates came out of nowhere and didn't really amount to much. Like, if it was like the Klatooinians again, for some reason or something, that like called back to something or set something up, that would make more sense than an action sequence that made very little sense to me. Like, the inhabitants of this planet seemed to be humans, and these were aliens who came out of somewhere. I don't know how, where.
It's to me, it implied there's a more complex situation going on Morak than we are privy to, because we've only seen a small snapshot. So, and clearly these pirates, to me at least, seem to be threats that the Empire have to regularly face in their Rhydonium transportation.
Well, they seemed woefully unprepared for them.
But the way they talk about it seems as if they were kind of expecting that kind of thing. And also, you saw many other destroyed transports but even before the attack started. So clearly, it's happened before.
So it's less of a that they weren't expecting them, and more of a they just don't really care.
I think there's a mixture, yeah, because they care enough to move the destroyed transports out of the way of the other ones.
Well, they kind of have to.
Yeah, but they don't care enough to give them more of an escort, or they're not able to because they don't have the numbers. It's possible that
well, they have enough numbers to keep losing others.
Yeah, but it's while they might have enough numbers or enough people to just drive these transports, they might not have enough military capability to actually prevent it. Like, there's a difference between having numbers of people and numbers of people that can actually stop it.
Although I thought it was interesting that even though like pirates usually steal things, and these people seemed more intent on just blowing the transports up.
Yeah, so I think it's unlikely that these people are pirates, and there's something more going on Morak. That these people seem to be like anti-imperial or trying to prevent the things that the Empire are doing on the planet.
Yeah, I did get like partisan, like Saw Gerrera type vibe from them. Not that they were like aligned with him in any way, just that they had similar ways of dealing with things.
Yeah, it's like.
By the way, did you recognize their species?
No, I did not. I know one of them looked like Surprise Pikachu when Mando threw a grenade back at him.
They looked a little bit like a cross between Plo Koon and one of the Jedi that went to fight Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith.
Do you mean Saesee Tiin?
Not the Zabrak.
Yeah, Saesee Tiin is the big horns.
The big horns pink guy.
But these guys look like, if I were to guess, they were an aquatic species. Because that's like what they look. The aquatic species in Star Wars sort of look the same, similar ways.
They didn't look that fishy to me.
They didn't, but I think the things at the front and their sort of bluish tinge might be. Well, maybe I don't know. I think it's a completely new species. Personally,
it might be.
Like, I don't recognize it, but it looks Star Warsy, so I commend that at least. And also, I thought it was interesting that the sort of transports they were using, the sort of skiffs, I thought that was kind of neat to see.
Yeah, they looked very much like the sort of stuff you would see like around Jabba's sail barge or on Pasana.
Yeah, on
Was
Pasana.
it Pasana?
Yeah,
it
Pasana is the place. Speaking of, there was a map in this episode that showed Moff Gideon's location, or at least his current location, and it through my cross checks of looking at my map that aligns, all the canon locations with the map in The Mandalorian. It seems that the place where Moff Gideon is, at least currently in that episode, is south of Mimban and west of Bothawui, which I think is in canon. It's Pasana, but I don't think he's going to be going to Pasana personally.
Personally.
Oh.
What if he meets Lando there?
Oh, God, Lando stays there from when he goes there with Luke, doesn't he?
He sure does.
Which is really dumb.
And he only has one set of clothing, apparently. Because he's still wearing the same thing in Rise of Skywalker that he wears in Solo.
Because all of his capes got stolen by Han.
I suppose. Yeah, they were on the Falcon.
Yeah, and he just took them.
I don't think it's ever addressed. But speaking of the map, I did see that you posted a bunch of reference material and a map that you created based on this on Twitter.
Indeed.
Yeah. Which is a little sneaky plug at on Air-Deraan,
one
word on Twitter.
Yeah.
Join us, Freddy is very active.
The thing is, I made that map after chapter 10, and it got basically ignored. And it would have been very useful for people to use to deduce Moff Gideon's location. But it got completely ignored. So it's kind of funny because a lot of YouTubers I know Star Wars Theory and Eckhart's Ladder, they were doing a lot of trying to figure out where Moff Gideon is, and I was just looking at my phone last night. It's well, I kind of already did all this. I kind of already did this months ago. But yeah,
well, months ago.
Not months ago. How many weeks ago was
Chapter 10 was no, it wasn't. Sorry. Chapter 10 would be 5 weeks ago.
Oh my God, so that is over a month ago.
True.
That's crazy.
Yeah. How crazy it is that we only have less than a week before Mandalorian is going away for another year.
I know, it's going to be sad. But I hope this episode is going to be long.
Yeah, it would be really, really dissatisfying if it ends up being another 30-minute bit and Baby Yoda either gets rescued or not in such a short amount of time. This might be a very random space of time to talk about it, but should we discuss what we think is going to happen next week?
Yeah, I think Moff Gideon's ship is going to be in deep space, and they're going to board it. That's my guess. I don't think he's actually going to a planet. I think he's just in the middle of space. I will maybe explain why I think it makes sense for him to be traveling in just space in a second, but I think there'll be boarding. I think there'll be a little shootout or something. We might get the Dark Troopers being used or something. I don't really know. I hope that it turns out better than that, but maybe the ship will crash, similar to in the Siege of Mandalore finale, and there'll be something like jetpacky and Dark Troopers, using their jet boots. All around.
Technically, it could be both.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that he's going to stay in deep space, because now that he knows that Din is coming, he's probably going to go to a place that is the most beneficial to him. Some sort of a base somewhere, whether it's a space station or somewhere on the planet.
Yeah, maybe.
And I agree that there will be some sort of a boarding or siege or something again, but I was thinking more along the lines of, is Din getting Baby Yoda back? Because if he boards the station and gets Grogu back, that's basically Moff Gideon beaten and kind of done with. Because I don't see, if they resolve this bit, I kind of don't see Moff Gideon trying again to track them down, because that would be a complete retread.
Yeah.
I think Din is going to fail this one.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I don't want it to be a cliffhanger, but it's I will be pretty annoyed if it's a cliffhanger, but it's possible it could be one.
Because they can't resolve it this quick.
Yeah, I know. He's only been gone 2 episodes.
Well, if it wasn't Moff Gideon who was like holding it, if it was like someone on the way to Moff Gideon, then I could see it feasibly that they're going to get him back. But unless this episode is also going to be where Gideon is going to be revealed to not be the big bad all along.
If that happens, I would be annoyed.
Yeah, like if it is Thrawn, like I don't think I would be as delighted as the writers might think I would be.
I'd be a bit annoyed in some ways, but because like this is meant to be, you know, Mando
the Warden of the Galaxy.
Where on earth does it say Warden of the Galaxy? I still don't know.
I don't remember.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I just want it to be... I'm sure it will be done well. We're not going to see Ahsoka. I'm sure of that. As Cobb Vanth isn't going to come back. But I don't know who's going to die.
I'd have to say, possibly Fennec?
Fennec just got brought back. They're not going to kill her.
Yeah, but if someone has to die, I can't really think of better...
What if they kill Cara Dune?
I mean, a lot of people would be very happy with that.
They
especially
would.
If she gets replaced with Sasha Banks.
Oh my... But, yeah, you know, the person who's... the character who's 100% a character.
Yep.
Costa Reeves, her name is, the character. And she doesn't appear in this season. Sasha Banks confirmed.
Yeah, I don't believe that to be the case. I mean, I don't think I would mind because it would be an impactful death, but it is quite likely that she is going to be one of the... What are they called? The TV show. Whatever of the New Republic.
Oh, yeah.
Rangers,
yeah. I took it that the Rangers are going to be like going around, whereas Cara Dune is stationary because she's a marshal. So
well, we'll see. Well, I mean, she might get fired for basically stealing a prisoner and then letting him die. Because like, what was that even about?
Warden?
Like the whole point at the end of last season was like she can't help then break him out because that would get her in trouble. But what she can do is take a prisoner on a mission and let him die. That
sort of shows shady. What the New Republic can do.
Yeah, that was
New Republic isn't as good as we think.
I was going to talk about this when I was saying like how Empire, or at least the soldiers of the Empire, weren't portrayed as evil. Like, New Republic seems to be getting shadier and shadier by the day. Like, the labor camps for the prisoners.
Yeah,
like,
inmate
it's so
3,
easy
4,
to just...
6, 6, 7.
Yeah, that's very much dehumanizing. Like, they can just take those inmates and take them on missions for them to die, and no one is probably going to bat an eye. Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah... I think, did we discuss off the podcast or on the podcast that about how it would be interesting if the New Republic was corrupt and that the First Order was somewhat right about them being corrupt by like pure accident?
I think that may have been off the mic, but I do agree. I mean, not to completely fault for Imperial propaganda, but Hess did say they are in disarray and we're growing stronger.
I think that's a lie.
I mean, they probably are getting back on their feet. It is like, you know, it is in his best interest to lie to himself about this stuff.
Yeah.
But from what we've seen, like, we haven't really seen anything that great about the New Republic. Even Bloody Trapper Wolf and Carson Teva, they're not like complete paragons of goodness.
No.
They are very much within the grey, and they are probably the most virtuous New Republic people we've met in this show.
Yeah, I guess. But we haven't really seen the New Republic properly in the show.
Well, in anything, really. Like,
yeah.
Again, what have we seen of the New Republic? A prison ship and a prison.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's not the...
That's literally it.
What if it turns out Sunspot Prison was real?
I mean, it probably is. If you don't know, Sunspot Prison, from back in the day in about 2016, is a prison ran by the rebels to hold the most dangerous criminals, like Dr. Aphra, for example. And it's not really a great place because like it's really close to a sun. So they can be like instantly incinerated if there's like a big breakout. Which, spoiler alert, there is, and they don't get disintegrated. One person does, but that's unrelated. And that's also in new canon the reason why Vader tells Boba Fett no disintegrations.
That's a bit weird. I don't understand that.
Yeah, well, they bring in someone who's meant to be like Luke Skywalker or someone, but it's just some guy who got melted.
Oh, yeah. I understand that, yes.
Anyway, but yeah, like, to be honest, like, Rebels weren't really ever that great. Like, they did distance themselves from Saw Gerrera, but Cassian Andor, he was a big hero of the rebellion, and he was shady as heck as well.
Yeah, he said that we all have done things that we're ashamed of for the rebellion, basically. Yeah. In his big speech before they go to Scarif.
And bloody Alexander Callis,
Borat.
a big time Borat fan, and also basically a hero of the Empire. That's like Operation Paperclip. That's very much not super Gucci either.
Yeah, he was involved in genocide.
Yeah.
And the only reason he was sort of converted to the good side was because he wasn't good enough at genocide and there was a Lasat left.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so what does that tell you? I think it'll be interesting if... So I'm not sure if you're familiar, but in The Force Awakens there was a lot of concept art of like a rebel superweapon.
An unspeakable rebel superweapon. Do tell.
Yeah.
Do tell me more.
And it was a giant sort of semi... like half sphere on a big spaceship, basically. And I think it would like crash into things. Yeah, it wouldn't blow up things, but it would crash into things. Like it was an impenetrable half of a sphere, a giant sphere. Yeah, but obviously never made it into The Force Awakens. If you have The Force Awakens art book, you can see it. It's I thought it was interesting, but it would be cool if the New Republic does have some sort of super weapon, or have the plans to make one. And I know you just mentioned the Unspeakable Rebel super weapon, which I believe was a Dr. Aphra plot point.
Yeah, and it wasn't real either. It was basically just... to be honest, I don't remember if it was a plot by the Rebels or by the Imperial PR lady, or both.
I think it was the Imperial PR lady, right?
Well, but yeah, I get... It's complicated, but she was definitely involved in some capacity. But then again, like one of Dr. Aphra's many girlfriends, who herself is an ex-Imperial, and also a pretty ruthless rebel. She was very much involved in that plot as well, and she really didn't want to work with the Empire at all at that point.
Yeah,
and she was in on it.
I mean, as someone who is not versed in Dr. Aphra, I'm a bit confused. But that is the way.
That is the way. I did explain it poorly.
No. I'm sure. I understand, but...
Basically, there was this Imperial officer whose name I'm blanking on, who's kind of Aphra's nemesis in the first few arcs. Yeah. And then they get involved biblically, and Aphra kind of makes it so she can't really stay in the Empire because Vader would eviscerate her for even like coming into contact with Dr. Aphra, and so she joins the rebellion and becomes basically like a Saw Gerrera type of her own. Like, well, maybe more of a Cassian Andor. Like, very much Rebel wet works, shady stuff.
The New Republic is shady like that.
It really is. It could be, like, eventually skewed in the way that whoever was a follower of, Senator Leia at that point, I'm not sure what her rank was in this time period. But it could be said like her followers were like the good guys and the other political parties weren't, because that's what it kind of is in Bloodline.
But Bloodline is quite a significant time later.
It is a few years later, yes.
I have a proposition for what might be going on with the New Republic.
Mm-hmm.
It is basically a military dictatorship at this point. Because all the power is kind of still vested in judicial and armed sectors. So when the rebellion, the alliance for the restoration of the Republic, it wasn't a democratic organization, and that was done on purpose because they didn't want to make it like a government in exile. They wanted it to be it's a military organization purely for setting up a new republic. And so once it's done, once the new republic is set up, it's going to take a while for it to be like back to normal. It's going to take a while to set up everything. So while it may be a republic, I mean, how long will it take for the republic to actually get all of the powers it needs, and how much power is in the New Republic military at that point? What is the event, or what is the reason, at least nowadays in canon, for the demilitarization of the Republic? Maybe there's some sort of crisis. I don't know.
We will have to wait and see.
Indeed.
I mean, it's called Rangers of the New Republic, not the Senate Guard of the New Republic, so it probably won't be the focus of that show, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was where we got a better glimpse into this sort of stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing that and finding out about it. Yeah. Speaking of ships, actually, what did you think about the interior of Slave One? I would say speaking of ships because we're talking about Ranger of the New Republic, which we said might be about X-Wings.
Did we say anything about X-Wings? But it's fine. Let's continue.
I mentioned X-Wings when I was last talking about it.
Sure. It felt first. I don't think that the effect was very good. But
whoa, big disagree. But okay.
I don't know. It's very. It looks very gimmicky. The way that it all flips around as the ship unlands.
But the ship does flip around like that. It must. We know it must because of how it is in Empire Strikes Back and also in Episode 2.
Yes, but I don't think it just looks very good.
Do you just not like practical. Slave One?
I liked it when I didn't have to see it from the inside.
The thing is that I thought it was really, really well designed by the concept art team and the interior. The team who made the interior design, because Slave One's interior has forever been a sort of mystery because it's pretty much impossible to design. How do you do it? And I think this is the first time that like a rotating interior. Interior space was done for Slave One, and I think it was really quite interesting. And to me, that strikes me as that makes sense. I can see that as being a thing. It was always a gimmicky ship, so to have a gimmicky interior, true. I think is completely fine. I thought it looked pretty cool in my opinion, but
it looks a bit too much like a theme park ride with the weird bulky. What do you call it? Seat belts or whatever. And also it looks like it's just one room and a cockpit, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think there'll be some storage somewhere. But, it's not a very big ship. It can't have that much.
True. Basically, all it needs to fit is
the Han Solo and Carbonite.
Yeah. I don't know. I still do like the ship, and I was very psyched to see the seismic charges again.
Yeah, that was cool.
One of my favorite bits about Episode 2 is basically everything about Jango Fett, other than his death. And the seismic charges, I replayed that section always, a few times when I watched that movie.
Yeah. I found it interesting, or funny, rather, when Boba says that the Imperials might recognize his face.
Yeah, it's probably easy to assume that they would know either of clones or about Boba Fett.
Yeah,
I don't know which one of them would be more notorious at this point in time.
I assumed that they would 100% know from Boba Fett's genetic code and his face, because of the clones, because they were widespread. They were the military of the galaxy for a long time. They all had the exact DNA as Boba, pretty much, and they all have the same face as him. So,
even if they didn't recognize him as Boba Fett, they would recognize him as an undesirable. They could think he's Captain Rex.
Possibly. They could think of any clone. I would think they would, like, Boba and Jango and all the clones probably have the most recognizable face.
Oh, God.
I had to bring up that famous line.
The problem is that doesn't really fit, because they are not the Nazis.
What do you mean?
Boba Fett and clones.
Well, we know that the clones did serve as stormtroopers at the start of the Empire. We know that from the Bad Batch.
They were more of a SA than the SS, though.
No, I'm not saying they were the SS. I'm saying like they were.
Well, I meant what? SA in the sense of they were used by the same people, but they were then discarded and hunted down themselves.
Well, we don't know if they were hunted down. Like Rex said that he retired in Rebels.
Well, that could be, true from a certain point of view only.
Whoa.
When are we getting from a certain point of view for every single episode of Clone Wars?
Every single one? 40 stories for each episode?
Yep.
That'd be my favourite.
It's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah.
What would that be, 2048?
Oh my god. That's just too far in the future to think about.
Not even 28 years.
Yeah. I was thinking, like, what... So, I thought the whole genetic code stuff was quite interesting in this episode. It seems that, like, the Empire scans your genetic code all the time. They use that for when people go in and that. And, like, last episode, talking about Boba Fett's chain code, so it will go over, like, how it has your entire family, like, your history on it, about your genetics. So it seems like genetic augmentation and documentation is like a big thing in the Star Wars galaxy.
Possibly, because like it might be like one of the only ways to go about things, because there aren't that many photographs in Star Wars.
It's your identity card, basically, your chain code. And
was that genetic scanning the thing they did with the face, or did that happen at some other point?
On the terminal, I assumed that either the terminal did scan their genetic code, or the face scan was just to see if you were human, or if you were, if your genetic code matched with someone who was scanned. Because everyone that was entering the base had their genetic code scanned. Hence why they needed Din to go instead of Kara or Fennec or Boba.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's how I took it, at least. And it seems like Mando doesn't have a chain code. So...
Well, he is a foundling.
Yeah.
And he spent the rest of his life in a cult.
Yeah, but I think that the chain code is something that is more or less assigned to you at birth, so he might have one, but it might just not be altered, or it might just say Din Djarin, born on whatever planet.
Yeah, maybe if we end up going back to his home planet, whatever that was.
What if he... Oh my god, that reminds me. I saw on the internet people theorising that Moff Gideon is going to Duxun.
Oh, no, fuck, why?
Because it has, like, Sith artifacts, and how Moff Gideon wants to become, like, a Force sensitive.
But why Duxun of all places?
Yeah, I know. It's like, apparently, people thought that Duxun was nearby, but it's not.
I mean, also, pretty much every Legends planet has been moved in the new canon. So,
have they?
I mean, a bloody Tython was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that other ones have.
No, I think Tython's one of the only ones that has been moved. And there's a big controversy about Tython being moved. I think it doesn't matter. Like, it goes into the whole Outer Rim is where the Jedi came from idea that we had.
But, or outside the galaxy.
Yeah.
On the whole.
But I don't think any other planet has been moved, per se. I think everything stayed pretty much the same. Because in all the official maps for new canon that come out, all the main planets are the same position in the big Legends maps.
Well, that can still change.
I doubt they'll change anything. There's no need for them to change anything.
if for story reasons it makes sense to move a planet from Legends, they will do it.
No, but I mean,
don't think
like,
they care about that as much.
No, but I mean, if it's already in like a new canon map, why would they change it? Like the icon that shows where Moff Gideon is, they would just place that over where he needs to be rather than change the planet. Like, changing the planet is harder to do than changing the bloody icon.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think he's going to be going to Duxun.
No, he's not going to Duxun.
Speaking of things that are green, like the jungle moon of Duxun.
Ooh.
What did you think of Boba Fett's new paint job?
I thought it was quite interesting, considering we haven't seen, his armor that clean, like, ever.
We really haven't. Like, anytime we've seen him in Clone Wars, not Clone Wars, in the movies or stuff, it was always, like, beaten up. And when Cobb Vanth, Vango Bango, was wearing it, it was much more so. He looked a bit too much like an action figure like this, too glossy.
Well, that's because he just painted it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but the thing about Star Wars is that it feels lived in.
Yeah, usually. But I mean, like...
And this... I understand that he just put the paint on.
It doesn't
but I
have
don't
to
think
be
it super suits him.
Everything doesn't have to be immediately lived in, and like Mando's armor is shiny. That doesn't go against the whole lived-in aesthetic. It still fits. I think
it
Boba's
is completely
fine.
new.
Boba's helmet still has the dent in.
It sure does.
My friend was saying how Boba likely didn't regularly repaint his armor before because he spent a lot of time on Tatooine, which presumably weathered his armor quite a lot because of all the sand.
Yeah, that is true. Also, I've seen some people say that it might be like a symbol of him turning a new leaf.
Yeah.
Because he does feel like a very different person from before.
Oh yeah, certainly.
He feels like maybe either within Sarlacc or after Sarlacc he had a bit of a change of heart and became more chill.
Especially if you compare his character to that in the comics.
He's no longer super aggro, he became a dad, gained a couple pounds, and he cares more about... He's fine about driving you to your friends and then back as long as he then gets to kick back and listen to some smooth rock and watch a Star Wars movie, maybe.
Do you reckon he was listening to Jabba flow while he was waiting around for Din and Migs?
I mean, for the sake of the lols, I would say yes, but since we are nerdy enough to have a Star Wars podcast, I have to say that Jabba flow wouldn't have been written by then. I don't think.
Yeah, big sad. Oh well.
Big oof Jabba.
Big oof Jabba. That's
He could have been listening to Jedi Rocks. Though.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's thematic sense to make for Boba to be listening to Jedi Rocks.
Yeah, he would have been reminiscing of the good old times when he was embedded in Jabba's castle.
With the Bumblebee guy.
Yeah, and Sice Noodles.
Oh god, who hopefully blew up.
Maybe, maybe not, but probably.
Yeah.
I think that Max Rebo's band was on the sail barge.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did blow up because they were playing that song. It was like do 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 thing. I can't make the sound because I can't make bloody alien instrument noises, but I know what it is. Never mind. Also, I want. We haven't talked about one of the major parts of this episode, which is the fact that Din had to continually change, alter his code by taking off his helmet and changing into new armor, and then taking off his helmet and showing his face to people.
Yeah, that was kind of like the purpose of why they picked up a Mix, because he's like, oh, whatever, just do whatever you need to survive. There's no point in having a moral code or allegiance.
Well, he wasn't saying there's no point to have a moral code. He was saying do whatever you need to do to make you sleep well at night. Make you sleep at night.
Well, sometimes that is kind of the same thing. if doing a bad thing lets you sleep at night, like blowing up an entire base with one shot.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. He can live with himself having like all of the. Yeah, they were gonna do Burning Con again. You know, the Operation Cinder thing again with that Rhydonium. So he wanted to destroy it, so they couldn't.
But still, you know, there was a lot of camaraderie within the people on that base. I don't think that literally everyone deserved to die.
I mean,
I don't think that it was a completely Paragon move.
I mean, like, you could say that more about the Death Star than this occasion. I mean, this occasion I think is different because they are. Well, actually, no, it's the same as the Death Star because they're both instances when they want to cause mass genocide.
Yeah, true. But to make another BioWare Mass Effect reference, like if you take a shortcut to killing like 20 terrible people by like blowing a gas main above their heads, that's still a bad guy move, even though it ultimately serves good.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but yeah, I was gonna say like mostly about
sorry.
The point is, okay. Like Mando is willing to completely like change his. He's willing to show his face in order to get to Grogu, to his son, Baby Yoda, basically.
Yeah, Mayfeld was pointing out, like, originally it was like, you can't take off your Mando helmet at all, now you just can't show your face. Like, what is it that you're actually, like, what is the code that you're following?
And that is a difference.
You seem to be changing it, like, all the time.
He keeps altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Exactly. Like, he seems to be more open to wearing clown shoes than to taking off his helmet.
Yes.
But yeah, it is once again like exactly what you predicted in like our Bode Rook episode, that Mando is getting challenged on what it means to be Mandalorian in like every episode.
Yeah, which is really interesting in my opinion. I mean, the only episode.
I have a feeling that if we do get a season 3 with Din Djarin, he's probably going to spend more time without the helmet than with it.
And probably in front of Baby Yoda. I'm looking forward to that moment when he takes off his helmet and shows his face to Baby Yoda for the first time.
Yeah, it's going to be a big moment when he stops going to bed in his armor.
Yeah, oh my god. I do want to bring up the title of this chapter. And how funny it is. Well, I find it funny why it's called that. You know,
do tell.
This episode is called The Believer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 99% sure the reason why is because of the song. You know, like when I saw her
from Shrek. Oh my god! I did not make that connection at all. I did think of the song. But I forgot about that lyric from that. That makes 100% sense.
Yeah, which I think is so funny. I love that. I also want to say
what I thought it was going to mean was that we're getting some like not Chert Imwe, obviously, because he's dead, but something of the sort. And this might sound a little less Gucci, but there was like a very pointed moment when Din like basically made eye contact with one kid in the village.
Oh yeah.
With an Asian-looking kid. I was like, wait, Chert Imwe died before this. This can't be a baby version of him.
They cloned Chert Imwe.
Yeah, I did think that's. I mean, obviously it would be weird to cram like a whole subplot about like the Church of Wills or, you know, Force believers into this episode when they have so much to do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it could be something to do with the Force, and then I thought it could be something to do with the Mando Creed, but in reality, it's like how they both believe in what the Mando and Mayfeld both believe in what they think is right, and so like Mayfeld does not believe in what the Empire is doing. And he's willing to actively put a stop to that. Yeah. And he seemed pretty content with actually being in the internment camp, which I thought was kind of strange.
Maybe he just felt safe.
Possibly, it is very possible because he might have been on the run as a defector.
Yeah.
And furthermore, Mando is starting to understand what things truly mean to him about his Mando code and also his role as a basically father to Grogu.
So instead of believing in his code, he believes in family.
Exactly. That's the real way. It's the friends we made along the way.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I do think Mayfeld became total bro when he was I didn't see your face at all at the end.
Yeah, it was a far cry from that slew of basically racist jokes he made against him in the car when he literally did the "you people" thing.
Oh yeah. And it's by you people, I do mean Mandalorians. It's oh god, he had a you people moment. Ugh. But I don't think he was I still think he was a lot nicer in the car than he was in the Prisoner. It seemed that he had sort of become more content, and he wasn't he wasn't going on the offensive. He was more being you could say problematic, I guess, but he wasn't trying to be on the offensive. He wasn't trying to steal the little green guy, and make fun of Mando, call him a Gungan and stuff. He was criticizing his code of honor and things, but I don't think he was doing it maliciously like he was in season 1.
Yeah, I mean they were a bit of a odd couple because Mayfeld believes in nothing other than his own survival, and Mando, even though they were a little poorly defined, he did have a. For how poorly defined it is, it was very strict code.
Yeah,
it was a little bit and I am basically just paraphrasing all the reviews that I said. He was a bit of a DJ figure, in The Last Jedi.
I think he had more of a moral thing than DJ.
Yeah, he was a good version of DJ.
Yeah, I would say that is Mayfeld a neutral good, or he wouldn't actively do something. He wouldn't actively join the rebellion.
Chaotic good.
Chaotic good, maybe.
Or maybe lawful neutral.
I wouldn't say chaotic neutral. I think it's either chaotic good or neutral good, because he wouldn't actively join the rebellion.
No, and that is why I don't think that he should be a good. That's why he should stay a neutral.
But he has a moral thing. He has.
If someone from the Empire came to break him out, I think that he would go along with them anyway.
No, because he seemed very, very averse to being linked with the Empire in this episode. He was that was a long time ago. He clearly did not agree with his past as as an army trooper, and he really didn't. He was incredibly uncomfortable in his confrontation with Hess.
Okay, maybe not the Empire, but from a hot cartel.
Oh yeah. If it was something like that, yeah, he would be fine. But I'm saying he has his own morals, and he is against the Empire. That is something he views as bad.
He hates the Empire, but I don't think that he would be opposed to working with someone who's not good.
Yeah, no, I'm saying he views the Empire as bad. That is what he views as bad. But we don't even what name. What episode title are we going to give this?
Well, I thought that it could have been Short Imwe, but obviously it can't. But since we had a pretty long talk about how moral New Republic and by extension the Rebels ever were, I think that this is the Cassian Andor episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very good choice.
This is the Cassian Andor revival tour.
Whoa, it's the prelude to the show.
Kind of.
If I want to stress again how much I enjoyed. I really did enjoy this episode. I think this was one of my favorite episodes of the entire show, and I know you didn't. Thought the timing could have been better, but I am really surprised at how much was able to fit in this episode.
In a vacuum, I liked what was in the episode. I liked the character stuff for Din. I liked the character stuff for Migs. I thought that it was weird that Cara Dune and Fennec did get to do a lot. They didn't get to do much, but they still got to do more than Boba Fett.
Because they're going to be in... All of those guys are going to be in the finale, whereas Mayfeld is not.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't have a problem with Mayfeld having a lot to do. I do like Mayfeld. I do like Bill Burr, and if we're probably not going to get to see him for a bit, but what is my point anyway? I just felt that by having this as the second to last episode, it's going to make the last episode probably a little rushed, because like in the last episode we basically got a two-parter. Like episode 7 had a lot to do with episode 8, and in this,
I think there's gonna be a massive restructuring of the how the next chapter works. If you want my totally honest opinion, I think they should not have had the episode The Jedi. I think they should have cut that episode. Have this be episode chapter 14.
I don't know about that. I mean,
that's
the
more
Jedi was... I know that you didn't enjoy the Jedi quite as much as I did, but in the Jedi, that was where Din's whole realization that that's where he really started to realize that this isn't just a mission for him, that he really does care for Grogu.
I think they should have done that earlier then. That's the thing, like...
Possibly.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, with the Jedi, like, a lot of the things aren't going to be brought up in this season. Like, pretty much everything's not going to be brought up in this show, apart from maybe the Beskar Spear.
Yeah.
And I do not think... Oh, sorry.
I would say if they had to skip one episode, it probably should have been The Passenger.
Yeah, maybe, or they could have put more of the Grogu's Bond thing in that episode.
Or both.
Yeah. But the thing is,
no, you can't do both. Other episodes. I thought you were going to say other episodes.
Maybe, but I do not think the Jedi was a very good use of time. Like the Jedi was a longer episode than this. It was almost 50 minutes long, and I do not think it did anywhere near as much as like in terms of what happens in the episode. I know, like, not overarching narrative, it probably did more. But in terms of the episode, it didn't do as much as this episode did in less time. And the same, it didn't do as much as like the Heiress in less time. So, yeah, that's just my opinion, I guess.
That's fine. It's starting to feel like in retrospect, we might be a little bit more down on this series than we would think. But we can talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll probably have a whole series review thing once we don't need things to do an episode on.
I would not be opposed to that.
Yeah.
Retrospective and the look forward, kind of like in our Bodhi Rook episode.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'll be up for that.
Would that be a Bodhi Rook 2?
Oh, we could call it Rogue 2.
Whoa. Oh, no, that would be Grogue 1.
Grogue 1, yeah.
Grogu 1.
Grogu 1. Should we go into our light side, dark side, and the one in the middle, the Bendu?
The Bendu. I do think that it might be the time, especially since I will have to leave in about 15 minutes.
Indeed,
and this one does. And this thing does have a tendency to go long. Would you like to start?
Yeah. So one of my favorite parts of this episode, my light side, is the confrontation between Mayfeld and Hess. I think that was incredibly well acted and really intriguing and intensive moment that I think is one of the best parts of this entire show. I really thought that bit was very good. And my dark side, I suppose, like my least favourite part, might have been... I guess it would have been more interesting to have more Boba Fett. Like, I'm not going to shout home about it. Like, that's not really a criticism of mine, but I guess, like, would have been interesting to have him have more of a speaking role at the start of the episode, rather than just like, I'm plotting a course for Morak and stuff like that. And I did a chart of a scan of the planet. You know, would have been interesting to have him do more stuff at the very start of the episode, perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I do agree. He really felt like he was just the driver, and that is not an interesting role for Boba Fett.
I still think he did cool stuff though. So I'm not like, while I say it's my dark side, like on the whole, I really enjoyed this entire episode. I don't really have many criticisms at all. But
that is fair. That is
fair. Yeah. What about you with your Light side and dark
and
side.
Dark side. I would say that my light side would be kind of showing the Imperial soldiers in a bit of a different light, with the whole camaraderie angle in the base, with the TIE fighters coming for the rescue, which are probably the same 2 TIE fighters that got blown up by the seismic charge.
Yeah, I took it that they only have 2 TIE fighters. That was my
they
take.
would probably send more if they could.
Yeah.
And how they were lined up to save them. Even though it was really strange how close they were shooting to the Rhydonium transport, since they were so volatile. Of course, the generals and the leaders, the people in charge, are obvious monsters, but with Mayfeld and probably a lot of those 5,000 to 10,000 people who died, 5,000 to 10,000 of only soldiers on that one planet who died in Operation Cinder, I would wager that a lot of them were also not monsters.
Yeah, but I do want to stress that was before all of this. I don't know.
Well, in any case, that would be my light side. Just not portraying literally everyone in the Empire as a one-dimensional murder machine, evil person. On the other hand, my dark side would be that the pirates. I remember being like, okay, we're infiltrating the base. This is gonna be fun. And then when the pirates showed up, we're doing this. Are we even getting to the fireworks factory in this episode? Why did Poochie have to show up in this itchy and scratchy episode?
I guess
it just felt like a waste of time to me. And I know that it was like the reason why they would sit down with Hess for a drink. But there could have been like a million other ways for why he would talk to them that wouldn't take up like precious time,
I suppose. I think it was interesting to have an action scene that was forced Mando to do something different. And you could see that he was actually capable, because a criticism that a lot of people have levied against the season of The Mandalorian is that Din hasn't actually done that much in action scenes. He normally stands around and gets saved, or just like looks in awe as someone cooler does all the work for him. Like Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, and Boba Fett.
But they could have done that with the action scene when they were escaping the base, because there wasn't really any of that in that
I thought that bit was really cool.
It was a good action scene, but they could have taken the character stuff and put it into an action scene that actually, had to be there.
But it did have to be
plot
there.
relevance.
It did have to be there for plot relevance, because it led to the Hess thing. I know you're saying that they could have done something different, but I mean they didn't, and so that bit is intrinsic to the plot. To remove it would be to completely change the reason why they would be going with Hess, and to do that, you're just going to have a different story.
But it wouldn't be that different. You could literally change that. You would have to probably get rid of the camaraderie, but not the Hess thing. You could literally change that plot point in the dubbing room.
I don't think that's a good way to go about it. Because to change this, you would have to get rid of the camaraderie, which was your positive, and also true. My Hess confrontation positive. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like altering the plot to get it's not even a contrivance, this scene, because it is integrated into the plot heavily. So
but imagine how much better it would have been if, for example, how much more interesting it would have been if instead of just some pirates, it was actually New Republic troops.
Well, then you could say that about
someone who matters.
You could say that about how in the Sanctuary it would have been better if the ATST was an actual Imperial ATST instead of pirates.
Not necessarily, because the Sanctuary wasn't the second to last episode.
Yeah, I suppose.
And, the thing that we care about in there is protecting the village.
Yeah.
Not necessarily getting to that outpost, which this action sequence just delayed.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you that you like it when I know you don't like it, so it's fine.
That is fine. Well, now that we've gotten this out of our system, what would be the one in the middle, the Bendu?
I didn't say the Bendu. The Bendu.
Yeah. We can edit around it. We still have a chance.
Yes. The Bendu.
The Bendu.
My one in the middle, the Bendu.
The Bendu.
Is the whole genetic scanning thing, because I thought it was really interesting and quite fleshing out the world quite a lot. So like all the chain codes and the genetic scans and the terminals and how the Imperial Remnant bases use that, I think is all intrinsically linked, and I think that's quite interesting.
Meanwhile, my one in the middle, the Bendu, would be the prison warden robot who kept calling Cara Dune.
Oh,
which really brings it into the question: is it pronounced Dune or
June? Yeah,
June. Or is it January, like January, but it's Daniel?
Danielary. That's my favourite month.
That's an overt reference to Auntie Donna.
I don't even know that reference.
I think that might be in the first episode of Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun.
Ah, fair enough.
Watch it, it's on Netflix.
Whoa.
This is not an ad, but it could be an ad.
Yeah, could be. Ad for our podcast? Whoa.
Okay, let's plug ourselves then. We are on Air-Deraan, all one word, on Twitter. Air-Deraan on YouTube. We are going to post more stuff on there, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
You probably already found us on Podbean or Castbox or wherever you listen to us.
Yeah, we're on quite a lot of platforms.
Yeah.
Which is good.
And listen to our backlog. We have already, 7 other episodes? 8?
Yeah, we're on episode 8 of our podcast right now. So
well, technically 9, because I think that I'm still going to post a bonus episode before this.
Yeah, that would make sense. So we're on episode 9 at the moment. You could probably already see and just thought I was an idiot.
It's kind of poetic how episodes 8 and 9 of our podcast are kind of subpar.
Whoa!
Shots fired!
Topical. That really subverted people's expectations, thinking that we were a shill.
It really subverted everyone's expectations how downhill we went instead of getting better with every episode.
Well, doing it online is very different.
Yeah,
still gotta get used to it.
It's a bit of a challenge, but hopefully we won't have to do it for too long.
Yeah, with luck.
Yeah. With luck, we will be back to our normal in about a month.
Yeah,
which
sometime
would mean
in January.
About 4 more episodes, unless we do take a bit of a Christmas break.
Yeah, nice.
That remains to be seen.
Do we ever get a break?
I think what we'll decide is how difficult it is to edit this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really sorry. I hope it goes well.
I do hope that I will be able to do some actual uni work.
Yeah, that too. Instead of destroying Permacrete.
Yep, that is what I've been doing. Just some good old-fashioned Miggs Mayfield in prison kind of stuff.
Oh my god, are you in those chop fields? In the Carthon chop fields?
Am I the Bill Burr of real life?
Are you inmate 4667?
I'm more of a 24601.
Yeah, I was thinking, are you gonna get it right? Are you gonna do it?
It took me way too long to remember what it was.
Just gotta remember the song, as weirdly sung by Russell Crowe. And by weirdly, I mean poorly.
I like both of the Tom Hooper films that I've seen.
Oh no, this isn't the Cats podcast.
It might be.
Oh my god!
I am the one who's editing this. I could just change every Star Wars name we say to Skimbleshanks or Guildenstern.
Whoa, that would be a film.
Speaking of, we are not doing a Tag and Bink Watch 2020 segment yet, which is going to be our newest segment on the show, because I am running out of time.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have any candidates.
Yeah.
Because the 2 people that I thought, okay, this could be Tag and Bink, that was actually General Hess and some stooge.
Well, there were some officers sitting on the table behind that got shot.
Yeah, and they can't be Tag and Bink, because even though they are dead, they can't really die on screen, because they have to be everywhere.
That's true.
They have at least 3 more movies to be in after this.
And just to note that the Tag and Bink thing isn't serious. We know that they're not. And I will say, like, I don't like the idea that Tag and Bink are everywhere, but I like it as a joke, if that makes sense.
I'm being 100% serious, though.
Oh, no!
No, this is like Bigfoot watch. Like, we know that Bigfoot isn't real, but he is somewhere.
Yeah.
And one day we will be correct about Tag and Bink.
One day. Maybe once we do Tag and Bink watch Solo, a Star Wars story, we will actually get it right.
Well, yeah, because I think they are in the background somewhere. You just don't get to meet them properly.
In the deleted scenes, yes.
Yeah. At the very least, when we do a Tag and Bink watch on the Solo a Star Wars story reference books, they are in there. It's confirmed. I saw them.
Confirmed?
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy herself confirmed it. So check us out on our other platforms, Twitter and YouTube, and listen to our other episodes and subscribe.
And tune in next time. It's gonna be fun. Follow us, not in real life, but on our socials.
Yeah. Digitally follow us.
Yeah. Some good old-fashioned cyber stalking.
Oh no. Good old-fashioned cyber stalking Moff Gideon.
Yeah. Let's keep it as a strictly parasocial relationship.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. That's a very flaccid way to end. Let's try something else. I'll see you in hell.
Is that what you've done? You just pressed stop.
I have not. I'm quoting Han Solo from Empire.
Oh.
Oh well. I'll do something about this in post.
Fair enough.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or I'll keep all of this in. Depends.
Yeah, we'll see you all next time.
We'll see you in hell.
Nice.
You may fire when ready.